Thank you so much for joining your story and making a part of this conversation on future of mobility. Thank you, sir. It's a great honor to be able to talk to all of you and get a deeper insight into what mobility will look like now post COVID. Lockdown is slowly opening up and all of that. I'd like to start thanking all of you, but first, before that, let me start with introducing our panelists. We have with us Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayanan. He needs no introduction. He's our Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, but he's also the Minister of Higher Education, Information Technology and Biotechnology, Science and Technology, Skill Development, Entrepreneurship, and Livelihood in the Government of Karnataka. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. We also have with us uh, Vivekananda. Vivek, or popularly known as Vivek in the startup ecosystem. He's the co-founder and CEO of Bounce. It's a smart mobility startup and has been around in the ecosystem since 2014 as Wicked Rides. Later on in 2016-17, if I'm not wrong, Vivek, it went on to become Bounce and has seen phenomenal growth since then. We have with us also Sudeep. Sudeep is a senior manager with Integrated Transport Program, WRI, and is responsible for leading the organization's engagement with new mobility enterprises for urban transport. Thank you so much, Sudeep, for joining us. We also have with us Pavan, who is an expert in urban mobility and has over 18 years of expertise in this urban mobility ecosystem. He's worked both in India and the US in more than 30 cities, on multiple topics like multimodal integration, transit planning, long range transportation planning, etc. So I don't think there could be a better panel to discuss about the future of mobility in a post-COVID world than this. So thank you so much for joining. But sir, I would start with you. So what do you see as a roadmap, now that this lockdown is opening up and all of that, what do you see as a roadmap for the future of mobility in a post-COVID world to ensure safety and safe transport for everyone?
Good afternoon to all of you, the panelists. The conference on urban mobility in the post-COVID era has been conducted by the Your Story. First of all, I would like to thank Your Story. All the time, you've been doing an excellent job facilitating
Thank
the
you.
startups, in strengthening, promoting. You've been doing an excellent job. It's been a big strength for the Bengaluru in Karnataka.
Thank you so much, sir.
And
Thank
your
you so much.
is unlimited, but I want to tend to fix you to Karnataka.
We are always for Karnataka, sir, Bangalore.
Most important thing, urban mobility for Bengaluru, number one priority, if you ask me, for each and every person, it is mobility. Time and again, people, once they get out of the house, they face a lot of inconvenience with regard to the reaching to their destination. So with regard to this, the Bangalore has been getting a lot of beating that urban mobility has not been promoted in a right way. So whatever initiatives, innovations, and solutions many of our private entrepreneurs have come forward, have shown the solution to mobilize the existing resource and channelize and reach out to the people to facilitate their transport in the city. I think they've done a wonderful job. At the same time, our BMTC is to transport more than 50 lakh people. BMTC, metro, around 5 lakh people. So how to increase that number in metro, all these things are there. Ultimately, in this budget, we wanted to increase the public transportation from present 45% to 73% public transportation. For this to be achieved, we need to work from all the direction. From last mile and first mile, all kind of connectivities needs to be strengthened, facilitation without discrimination between public and private. Ultimately, we need to provide solution to the people, ensure that the movement of the people is very smooth, safe, secure, and within a minimal time they can reach their distance without causing much of inconvenience or congestion on the road. All this factoring has to be looked into it. So along with this, we had many discussion with many of you in the TFL that come forward. As Pawan has worked with a lot of organization across the world, and our WFI has been always working consistently for many years along with the adult. They've been doing an excellent job selflessly. I congratulate them and I look for. And Vivek, our hero, Bounce, it's been an inspiration for many of them. If you have a will, you can achieve it. His success story has been really very inspiring to many of the youngsters. I congratulate, I wish him much more success, and we are here. And as a government, always I keep insisting my entire system don't discriminate between private and government. So ultimately, we want solution, cost-effective solution. Only our main concern is the our people. Citizen centric. We need to be citizen centric, and we need to work in this direction. In the post-COVID, let me come to the point. Post-COVID, public transportation has become a very challenging area, and as in the government, we have taken a lot of precaution with regard to the capping the number of people to travel in the buses, safety, sanitizing, mask, about the people who are involved in this sector. They have been given a lot of protective gears have been provided to them so that they should also be safe and people needs to be safe. We have ensured that the safety of the people in this public transportation by providing the protective gears to the staff and getting them regular medical checkup and getting the entire bus sanitized and all these required measures have been taken. And it is causing a lot of pressure on the system because we had earlier itself very limited buses. So in the limitation, we again put a cap on the number of people traveling. That has caused a lot of challenge to the people who are utilizing the public transportation. Their requirement has increased substantially. Even they need to gear up and start working in this direction. And now safety has become the most important issue in this direction. Already, many of the people have started working from home. A lot of changes are having, a lot of things are evolving to overcome the challenges in the COVID situation. Many solutions have come up. There is no other way. People need to travel. They need to go to their workplace. In few sectors only we can have work from home. Many of the sectors people need to travel and go to their respective places. So in this direction, a lot of challenges increased. Even the government trying to get all the electric buses and all other things are being worked out. And now because of the China and all other backdrop, we are facing a lot of issue with regard to the supply chain. Many of the contracts have been taken from them. They have taken the contract. There are a lot of issues. We need to see how best we can sort out these kind of issues. And public transportation need to scale up from private as well as public. So whatever problem been faced by the our friends in private sector, you can put forward your suggestion, views, challenges being faced, how best we can work together to ensure the public transportation is very effective, private or public. It is ultimately we need to ensure the transportation. Along with this, the planning of the city, the public transportation and planning goes hand in hand. Unless a city has not been planned properly, public transportation cannot be never be viable. Needs to make it a very compactable city, highly dense city, so that the cost of running cost or the infrastructure development, everything can be cut down and managing a city becomes more effective in this direction. Already the models which have been worked out by different countries have been a real example for us. Not that we are having a experiment, we are trying to experiment here. I request all my friends to young and dynamic leaders, entrepreneurs to come forward and give suggestions.
Great. So thank you so much. It's really, really heartening to see that a government official and people are looking. I think actually during COVID times is one time where we've seen a lot of collaborative work happening, not just in the startup ecosystem, but across different private sectors, public sectors, and with startups and all of that. So thank you so much. So let me just move ahead since we are speaking, since you have laid the ground so beautifully to all of us. Let's just start with this. Let me get to Vivek. Vivek, transportation, lockdown, and post lockdown, the sector itself has been hurt very, very badly. So, what has the challenges been? And taking Sir's point, how do you see a collaborative effort with the government or with other private sectors or other startups? How does that whole process work?
Right. So, Sindhu, biggest challenge in a post-COVID world is that before COVID, public transport used to take a lot of weight. As in, like Sir was mentioning, at least 15 lakh plus people were moved through BMTC every day. So suddenly, this perception of safety and the limitation of number of people who can travel in a bus puts a stress on how can people move, right? So there is a vacuum now in the market on how to actually make people move from point A to point B in a safe and cost-effective way. So I think the new COVID world will throw up a lot of challenges. What we have seen in China is that China, the new four-wheeler sales have picked up. People have moved from public transport to buying new cars, and also cycle sharing. There, the Ofo and Mobikes are doing well. As in, people are still using sharing where there is no driver, and that the sales have gone up. In the India situation, what happens is that people don't have money so much, right? As in, the disposable cash with people is still a constraint. As in, not everybody can just go out and buy two-wheelers or four-wheelers. And also, if people end up doing that, it will not help the city, right? Because we don't have so much parking, the congestion will increase. So personal mobility won't solve it, right? As in, people resorting to buying their own two-wheelers or four-wheelers will only increase the problem. So the most important thing to do now is how can shared mobility and public transport work hand in hand so that the stress on private ownership comes down, stress on parking comes down. At the same time, it is safe and affordable for users. So one of the things that we have done, the perception for people is that a scooter used by someone else, it's a shared scooter, right? So how do I know that it is safer? So what we have done is we have asked user to bring their own helmet. We actually built a good supply chain for people to buy helmets at a cost-effective price so that they still have an helmet, but the helmet is for them. Second, we worked on a germ shield, which will make sure that the surface virus is very low. This is something has been used in Europe and across the globe. Apart from that, the biggest challenge is how do we still make it much safer, right? So what the biggest collaboration that we did was we partnered with local business owners. What we did was we partnered with Kirana stores, we partnered with restaurants, we partnered with everyone for two reasons. One is to get parking there. Second is that after every ride, these Kirana store owners can actually sanitize the vehicle. They can clean the vehicle. So it's still much safer. At the same time, we are building a large collaboration where now, see, Bangalore has 7 million two-wheelers, right? As in 7 million two-wheelers is a large number. And if people start buying their own two-wheelers, it will just become much more. So how can we actually still have a shared ecosystem where Bangalore can have million shared vehicles? If Bangalore can have million shared scooters, then it is a big win, right? So, but how can we make it very inclusive? We can make it very inclusive when we involve the Kirana store owners, small business owners. What we are doing now is we are helping them build a small 3 battery charging unit where they can swap the batteries. They can be part of the EV infra. They can buy the scooter. We are getting them loans from banks and others. So now they become a part of the ecosystem. Now they are also a mobility player. And we just give the technology, we help them how to do this, but it is more distributed. The pressure of shared mobility can also be shared to small business owners. So this is the biggest collaboration that we did. And this also in a way accelerates EV adoption for us, though the challenges around battery ecosystem and motor still remains. What we also felt is that this is a time when there is very stress on unit economics and profitability and everything. EV is the only way to get profitable. And the control over the vehicle also is better in an EV vehicle. So we have also accelerated our EV adoption. So these are few quick things that we have done. One of the most important things that we are working on, which looks counterintuitive now, is the existing 7 million two-wheelers to be allowed for sharing. So today the 7 million two-wheelers are parked somewhere, right? It is consuming a lot of real estate. Those real estate could have been parks, it could have been gardens, it could have been for something else, right? But today they're used for parking, and it is not utilized. If you see any two-wheelers, right, they're not used for more than 1 hour a day, and it consumes more parking. It consumes a lot of real estate. So one of the things that we are working on is to enable them to rent it out commercially by making sure that they have valid commercial insurance, they have valid transport licenses. As a rental company, we can enter into lease agreements with them, where an existing owner of two-wheeler can rent out the two-wheeler or a four-wheeler whenever he's not using it. So rent a motorcycle scheme allows this. This is a time we are accelerating this. Initially, we felt that people might be scared to rent out their vehicles, but the reality is that everyone is constrained on money, and an idle asset which is not earning, which already the cost was taken care of. If you can earn some more money by renting it out to someone else, then it helps masses, right? So these are two things that we have done over this COVID time.
Sounds good. Just moving on a little bit into what Sir was talking about, private and public collaboration. I would like to have Pawan talk on that. Since you have worked with in other countries as well, and even in the US, how do you see in a state like Karnataka, and like Sir was mentioning in Bangalore, you need city planning, you also need urban transportation, you need a lot of different things that come together to solve the problem and challenge. So if you could quickly tell us that, how do you think a public and private collaboration can work in a world, and how do you see it coming into play in the future of mobility, Pawan?
Yeah, thank you, Sindhu. I think this was also touched upon by Sir and Vivek.
Yeah.
That when we talk about today, the whole question is about mobility in a situation where we are dealing with externalities that we ourselves are not aware. I think when you look at really a little bit of the macro level, three things needs to happen. One is really this, I think Sir also a little bit touched upon this, is this whole developing this automotive regional competitiveness that we need to really create in our Karnataka, because we are part of the automobile hub anyway in the south. But how do you really make this more attractive in terms of getting this newer technologies, EV, and really bring this as actually a manufacturing base? I think that's one thing really has to be thought through. And what are the incentives and policies that will tie to this to make it happen? I think that has to be a big focus when you're looking from the perspective of government. The second thing is the supply chain or the value chain system, because right now, whether it is because of geopolitical tensions or geoeconomics, whatever is happening, I think the big question is also that if we are pushing for certain technologies, then how do we move certain value chain more accessible to our startups? Because Vivek did touch upon the issues of whether it is battery systems or whether it is motors. How do we create that value chain supply that it becomes more accessible for the system itself to move? I think that is very, very critical. And then third thing is associated with of course the financial incentives and the policies related to both planning and mobility that will unveil, so that it becomes conducive for the entire market to grow. Because let's understand that we are not just talking about mobility here, we are talking about wanting to actually quick steer the entire economy, and that's, I think, a big onus that we're talking about. And how does mobility play a role in doing that? And I think these are the three major umbrellas under which we should be looking at, and this then gives an opportunity. How do we reimagine mobility in our own city, given that these are the new contours of how things will unfold? Then the question is, can we be doing business as usual, or it really calls for a very different approach? And I think we all will agree that it calls for a very different approach, because today we are not talking about just public transportation or shared mobility or NMT or private transportation. We all clearly understand that this all will coexist. The question is, what are the levels of their coexistence? And that is where it really calls for bringing people from different sectors, because it's very easy for all of us to say that, oh, I don't want shared mobility, or I don't want public transportation, or I only want public transportation, I don't want private. But we all also agree that we keep changing our modes based upon our own use. For some reasons, I would use metro versus some leisure trips I may choose on my private transportation. So it cannot be a very exclusive decision that we all get into this debate saying that, I want only one, I don't want other. I think it is time to really look at all three together. And that is the opportunity, I would say, that the post-COVID situation is providing. That yes, public transportation has certain role to play. And government can then really think of, can I push for e-buses? How do you really increase the BS6? I think those are the questions that the government has to really tackle. At the same time, I think Vivek has laid the case very strongly that how does shared mobility play a role? Because there is a different market segment that would really need that kind of service.
Yeah.
And also we are talking about this NMTs where you need to have better infrastructure for cyclists, for pedestrians. I think there is room for all of us to be in that space, all three, and it is a time to actually look at collaboration rather than saying that one is competing another against, finding that right mix and saying that, okay, the city aims to have this as a target to really push for, rather than simply randomly going to one extreme versus other extreme. That would you will say that manufacturing base is not needed to increase the GDP? Can we really shy away from that factor? Not at all. So having said that, we need to really look at all three in combination. It's just the proportion may vary, and this is where I feel that can we really look at redoing our whole mobility plan for the city and really look more at local areas. What are the wards really asking for? And then there is a ward level mobility within an area which we are talking about, and then there is also this mobility which is dominantly employment trips, which serves a different purpose altogether. I think that is where the whole macro and micro integration will happen. And of course, the nitty-gritties of pushing one with policies, disincentivizing or incentivizing, all will kick in. Yeah.
So adding to that, Sudeep, would like to ask you, you have worked very deeply and strongly on infrastructure as well. And when you talk about mobility, infrastructure plays a very, very, very key role, whether it is collaborative work or whether it is government work, or even when everyone was talking about, how EVs is going to be a big focus right now. So how do you see it's going to work together, and what do you see a larger, broader behavioral shift in that terms, when it comes to infrastructure development or even people or consumer behavior? How do you see that shift happening?
Right. That's a really interesting question, actually. And Sir mentioned that we needed to focus on city planning.
Yeah.
There is this, the COVID situation actually has brought out innovation in many different fields, not only just transportation, right? There is a concept of bubble environments that are being explored in the reality space, where campuses where they're looking to have housing and workspaces within the same campus, so that the travel is limited to its bare minimum. And these are concepts that are not just like they're not just evolving; they're taking place they're being considered at a large scale. I think the most famous example would be the NBA and Disney collaboration for the entire NBA season and having all the players at one space. These are things that are happening in terms of infrastructure and the built environment already. People are thinking about it. They're looking at this as long-term solutions. There are big changes in policy amongst companies. Working from home is now just considered a norm for many companies, and there has been a trend where companies are also letting go of their office spaces. Now that brings a big that starts changing the way the space travel demand of the city starts being structured. But there's always people who will need to travel, and access the jobs. Now, for them, for those who can afford it, will try and shift towards personalized mobility. Now, that's going to be a very small portion. Even across the globe, that shift has been from 10% to 25% of previously public transport users. But largely, many people are going to still need public transport because that's the most affordable means of transport. In that case, what's going to happen? In that case, the health and protection of the commuters are going to be the most significant piece. But given the new norms of social distancing, these transportation systems are not going to be able to cope up with the earlier demand. So we need to provide them with alternates. And one to be considered very seriously is the one that's been taken up in a lot of cities, which is the cycling and NMT infrastructure, which is changing how people navigate cities across the globe. Now, I don't remember which city this was, but we have seen some cities where the uptake of cycling as a mode of transport has grown by 150 to 190%. That means that many more people are taking cycles, that many people are taking micromobility as their mode of transport. We also know that there are also statistics out there that state that people are looking to use it for longer distances than they ever did. It actually has increased to about 197% of what they used to travel. So they're going longer distances. What is needed is to provide them to provide them to be able to do this safely, and cycle lanes and NMT lanes and protected infrastructure space for them to be to ride cycles and to ride NMT micromobility solutions would bring about a big change in the city. What also needs to be considered is the ecosystem that needs to change with this, right? It's not just about creating the infrastructure, but also creating the supply of the cycles or the micromobility solutions. In Bangalore itself, we had about five now entrepreneurial solutions that were available about in 2017. Today, only one exists. There is a need that we need to, there is a requirement that we need to restart this ecosystem so that people have that option in these times where personalized transport is not affordable and public transport is at a short supply. I think those are the big changes that we're going to see in the city soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Sir, back at you. Just wanted to understand from your perspective, now that they've spoken, one common thread that came across was there was a need for a lot of regulatory shifts and changes in the mobility and micro-mobility space. And just wanted to understand, is there going to be a significant push from the government side towards EV? How is that going to work from the government perspective? What are your plans in terms of regulations and all of that? Because startups have always had a regulatory battle with the government in terms of mobility. So is that going to change? Is it going to become easier? How is it going to be? It seems like a new world all of us are today entering into.
So in this direction, we are trying to strengthen and promote EV policy, and the BESCOM also is going to come out with nearly 700 electric vehicle charging stations across the state. And in the city, for every 20 kilometers, they're planning to come out with electric charging station. We'll increase it more in a frequent distance, and instead of 20 to 25 is too long. I think probably at least for every 3 kilometer or 5 kilometer, we need to have an electric vehicle charging station. Will ensure so that each building should have an electric charging station. Each commercial complex or any parking area needs to have an electric charging station. So we'll work in the direction. Now we have a young dynamic officer in BESCOM. He's also keen and interested. I'll request him. And along with this, the electric vehicle manufacturing for 2-wheeler, 3-wheeler, 4-wheeler, the 6-wheeler, 8-wheeler vehicles need to be manufactured. So we are encouraging them to establish the manufacturing base in the state of Karnataka. And we are calling them. Whatever encouragement you need, the lands are ready, the places are ready, whatever support you want, they are willing to. Now, Karnataka Industrial Facilitation Act also has been amended. We can take post approval. You can start the unit without waiting for any approval. You can take self approval. No any approval. You can approve on self, and you can start the unit, and nothing will come in your way. And this is the way forward. And more so with regard to this is what I want to say about the electric vehicle, as my friends have been mentioning about all the electric vehicle policy, alternate solution, financial incentives, and sharing of vehicle, coexistence, work and live, ecosystem, non-motorized roads or the footpaths. This is the way forward. We need to Probably having a compact city, we need to make a walkable city. We need people to walk around. That becomes a better solution instead of wasting time in gyms and going around. Straight away we can walk to our offices. That will be the better thing to do. Uh, I feel that's the way we can connect with the society, live with the society,
Yeah.
and I think that we need to work very strongly, which is achievable. Somehow we have been neglecting the footpaths. Though I'm in the government, this is the everybody tries to encroach footpath. Everybody tries to, that's a free man's land. Do what you want, become the norm.
Yeah.
Somehow we ensure this is the main place as public transportation needs to grow. If transportation or private transportation, sharing of vehicle or public transportation, if it needs to grow, footpath needs to be walkable. Without the right footpath, I don't think so. Any private sharing of vehicle or private transport or public transport cannot grow without the right footpaths or walkable footpath. That I strongly believe, and I am always batting for it. And BBMP is the first city which has started road audits, and it's the first city to start the road audits and safety audit. They have done it for the 300 kilometers. Have you heard about the bus priority lane? The bus priority lane also it's a citizen initiative.
Mhm.
It's become a very successful model for the entire world. Probably, country it's a very good solution, cost effective, no cost involved. Only need to dedicate the space for the buses. That's become a very successful model. Even in this direction, we have been working. We have started with one high density corridor, and gradually we'll be extending it to all the 12 high density corridor. That's a successful model. We need to work very strongly on that area. I knew it will not take much time, and these are the few things which I'm very keen. And anything more?
No,
Let me.
yes, sir. So since you're short of time and since we're almost over the fag end, let me just go to the last summing up. From all of you, I would like to understand what are the key trends that you see coming up in the next 3 to 4 months. Starting with you, sir. What are the key trends you see happening in the space of mobility in the next 3 to 4 months?
Most important is COVID-19 situation has made people to cut down unnecessarily travel. Travel has been drastically, it has been cut down. People are trying to connect digitally now, more digitally, trying to speak to. So they think they never thought it's been so simple. The video conferencing also has become very effective. Unnecessarily travel has been cut down. So each of them can reach to each other through digitally. It's been fantastic. And some of the places they need to travel. So digital and technology has made a big role to cut down the traveling. Second, we need to come out with, as all my friends have suggested, very good solutions. We need to work in this direction to ensure the public and private transportation, shared transportation and public transportation need to be prioritized, and we need to work very strongly to ensure safety and security. In this direction, UMTA is become a platform where we are trying to coordinate, integrate all possible services, private, government, others. We are not trying to discriminate anything like this. And more so, third, we have come out with the Karnataka Innovation Authority, where earlier people used to face a lot of Ola or bounds, we used to face a lot of challenges. But we have come out with an innovation authority. Whatever is an obstacle in the law, you can overcome.
I think this is the time to collaborate and take drastic steps, right? Because this is like we have an option to reset things and start from scratch for obvious reason, right? So I think we should make the best of this time and look at very good collaborations with the government and private transport. Today they are seen as two different things. I think integration is something that we should work on, and I think government and private companies like us have huge potential. I'll give you a quick example. Let's say government is working on charging infrastructure, but for two-wheelers, probably battery swapping is much easier. And today, Bounce itself has some 200 swapping stations, right, through mom and pop store. So now, can we work with government? The biggest challenge for us is to get lending for small business owners. As in, we tell Kirana owners to buy 3 batteries and put a charging unit. But most of these guys don't have bank credits. They've never been into the banking ecosystem. So I think a lot of things like that we can work together. And today, also private companies sit on a lot of data, right, which can be actually used in a very meaningful way. Today, for instance, we were talking about ward level, what makes sense, right? We know Bounce, for instance, we can tell you the number of road humps in the city. Bounce scooters have GPS, so every day we used to do 6 lakh plus kilometers in Bangalore, and this data is sitting with us right today. How can city use this data? Where are the most accidents which are happening? Where do people brake? Where do people speed up? Why do they do that? So I think the time to collaborate is now, and I think we should make use of this time to collaborate and come up with new things. I think all of this can be scientific, right? As in, than having a speed breaker as such, it can be more scientific, because this also, a small speed breaker can cause a long traffic jam. So I think there is a lot of data that we all sit on and we can actually put to use. I think the biggest trend that we will see across the globe is collaborations. Inefficient systems won't work. For anything to evolve and continue, it has to be efficient. For anything to be efficient, it can't be the only solution to work, right? So it's a time to collaborate. I think that if we make use of the situation, we can actually make Bangalore a better place in terms of ease of mobility and things.
Right.
And sir mentioned about Karnataka Innovation Authority, right? I don't think many people understand this being available now. I think government should speak more about it, as in what it means to a startup or an entrepreneur who wants to do that. We know because we have been tracking it. So probably, sir, you should use more mediums like Your Story or anything else and explain what it means, because it's a very landmark thing, right? A sandbox approach is a very landmark thing which government has done. Nobody's aware of it much. So I think communications also would really help.
So we are ready to have a conversation on that anytime.
Yeah, most welcome. I'm also willing to reach out to you, reach out through Your Story. Probably the one strong statement of Vivek is a very strong statement. I think it's more appropriate. Inefficient system cannot exist. Only efficient system can only sustain. So in this direction, I completely agree with you, Vivek. All of us need to, particularly government, we are very keen and we need to work in this direction. There's no other alternative.
Exactly.
We'll definitely respond, and inefficient system has got no place.
Exactly, sir.
Only efficiency can sustain our live here. Otherwise, we will make everything inefficient.
Yes, sir. You're right, sir. You're right.
Right, Pawan, and then Sudeep, your views. Quick summing up.
I think I would say that the trend we are going to see is the trend we want to see. And it really depends upon what the government and the various stakeholders are really going to take it. Because we can say that, we will do only certain things, we will not do certain things. I think it is really what, rightly agree with Vivek. This is the time for opportunity and collaboration. And I think the market forces with government, with the private sector, the innovation and the consumers, I think it's a right timing for us to choose which is the path that we want to take on. I mean, are we saying that and also the question is, can we ignore one versus other? I don't think there is an opportunity for that. And that is why I keep saying that this is the time that what all of us want is what will actually manifest. And the question here is, on a personal note, I do still feel personal mobility in two-wheeler segment with electric will see a rise in the trend that is going to really happen. Public transport is going to face a huge challenge, and that's where government interventions would be needed. And if citizen groups and local governments are willing to work with the state governments, then there is that opportunity for NMT to come. So these are only likely, provided there are some ifs and buts and assumptions that really come together and make it happen.
Right.
Pawan, you need to strongly articulate and strongly pitch for it. No ifs and buts. No, you should do strongly and pitch for it. That is the way forward,
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying. We want all three to come together, and that's what we have to collaborate, government, private actors.
Always listen to people's voice only. You should make it more stronger. Probably you can take up this campaign, a good one, because that's a way forward. That's a very good solution for any city to become sustainable, healthy, environment friendly, a good place to live, good quality of living. We can achieve all these things with a meaningful way of doing things.
Yeah.
You can take it up strongly, Pawan.
Yes, sir. We'll do that.
Sudeep, sum up and your views.
I think they're going to, in my opinion, I see two trends emerging. Considering that the resources are going to be low, the use of technology, the use of data to make very decisive and measured and optimized decisions on transport, where it is provided and how it's provided. I think that's going to play a significant role now in decision making. And the second thing I see is as a trend that will emerge is a collaborative approach. Like, I mean, Pawan stole my point there, but a collaborative approach between the industry, the government, and the people using it. And this is going to be the turning point. This is going to potentially be the turning point of how we shape the city. I think those are the two major trends that I see happening.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for your time. I think Sir has a hard stop now. So thank you so much for your time, Sir.